Hi, we're back with Sanai's ghost, apparently.
Apparently. Does it mean her ghost in the sense of her ghost stories? Or does it mean her ghost in the sense of her ghost?
That's a great question. I don't know, but if she's telling ghost stories, that would certainly be interesting now, wouldn't it?
As she has been.
Yeah. Kind of like Lily.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's time.
Sanai sat up in bed and took the thermometer out of her mouth.
Well, you still seem to have a high fever.
Sanai, her cheeks flushed, regarded me with an empty gaze.
I want to read a book.
No way. You need to get some sleep.
Sanai gave me an indignant look through her half-open eyes.
You really like books, don't you? Why is that?
You mean what I like about books?
I nodded.
I like a lot of things. I don't know if I can sum it up.
Well, what's good about the current book that you're reading then?
It's an old book.
All right, it's old. I'm with you so far.
Which means it's full of things I don't know, like descriptions of lands I'd never seen before. But I enjoy that kind of lack of knowledge, as my imagination always fills in the blanks.
Huh.
I apologize if there's clanking. My mic stand keeps collapsing on me.
Oh, good thing we're getting new ones. Thanks, patrons.
Patrons. If I die, burn me with the books on this shelf.
Damn, hardcore,
There are still some I haven't read yet.
she added.
You can do that if you want, but you won't be able to read them if I burn them. I can make you like a mausoleum or something.
Oh, so you do think I could read other books after my death, though? If they weren't burned.
I mean, I have no idea what happens after death.
You don't believe in heaven and hell, right?
I might not look it, but I'm actually pretty scientifically minded. I don't believe you'll be able to continue constructing thoughts after your brain dies. It's fun to think about the afterlife, but none of the potential ideas make much sense from where I stand.
I put the thermometer away and soaked the towel I'd prepared in a bowl of ice water.
I always start thinking about these things when I don't feel well. My health isn't exactly in tip-top shape.
She added.
Aren't you scared, Takako?
Not really. As I said, it would be fun if there was an afterlife, but if it all works like I expect it to work, then you won't even be able to feel fear. So, what does it matter?
I'm pretty sure some people would find the idea of not existing scary in itself. What's the point of doing your best in life if you're gonna disappear, anyway? Have you never thought of it like that?
Well, you leave all sorts of things behind, I mean. Besides, the fact I might disappear one day doesn't change the fact that I exist here and now.
I took the towel out of the bowl and wrung it so as not to splash the water all over the room.
One time when we were gazing at the stars together, Sachiko said that their light was hundreds and hundreds of years old. In other words, hundreds of years will pass before we're seen from over there. Nothing that ever existed can disappear completely.
I see, and I agree.
You should sleep. I'm sure you'll be fine by tomorrow.
What time is it?
It's around 9, I think.
Oh, there's also the idea that you might become a ghost.
Just might be the most fun option. Could you imagine me, after I'm dead, doing nothing but poltergeisting people?
For some reason, very vividly. If I turn into one tonight, I'll come to your room to relax.
Oh, don't forget to make some kind of signal so I know it's you, all right?
In that case, I'll pick up coins like that ghost in town.
All right, I'll make sure to leave some on the table.
Guess I can rest easy then. Good night.
Good night.
I put the cold towel on Sanai's head as she finally lay down. Sanai let out a relieved breath and slowly closed her eyes.
So if you don't come to claim it, then I get to keep the money, right?
I opened my eyes to realize I was lying on a bed. As I sat up, a sudden and sharp pain ran through the core of my skull. With its empty shelves, a bed covered in blinding white sheets, and a window that opened to the vast sky above the port town, the room felt as lifeless as ever. The sky that was orange before I closed my eyes had turned dark blue. I rubbed my left arm that had nearly frozen while I slept with no sheet on me. When I stood up, the pain in my skull returned. Eventually, I staggered out of Kozue's room with uncertain steps.
I think I was going somewhere.
I turned right and began descending the spiral staircase. The lights started blinking as I continued down toward the lobby.
Oh, but I changed them just the other day.
I took one step after the other while leaning against the wall with my right arm. I passed by a few small pictures on the wall to reach the blinking light. It didn't seem like it had dimmed, at least. I looked away, my vision suddenly grew completely dark. I could feel myself stepping on a hard, wet surface. I was back in the dark limestone cave. The wall I'd been touching had turned into rock before I knew it. I inhaled a lungful of cold, humid air to calm myself down. I slowly closed my eyes, and then opened them again. I was back on the spiral staircase. The light I'd changed the other day, and the familiar picture of a lake hung right next to me on the wall. I leaned against the wall with my back and stared at the light for a few moments when I saw Mayuko descending the stairs above me.
Yeah?
I caught her hand before she tumbled down the stairs.
Hiya!
What are you doing there?
Mayuko asked, pressing a hand against her chest.
I thought there was something wrong with the light over there again, but it seems like it was just my imagination.
I see.
Mayuko straightened herself, so I let go of her hand.
It's almost lights out time.
Already that late?
Well, check the clock in the lobby if you don't believe me.
I shook my head.
In that case, good night.
Mayuko passed by me. Mayuko turned around to face me as I addressed her.
Can I sleep with you tonight?
I gulped down the remainder of my cold tea and put the empty cup on the tray.
I want to lay down the futon, so I'd appreciate it if you got out of the way.
I stood up and continued to the kitchen with my tray in hand. Meanwhile, Mayuko folded the table and prepared the two futons behind me. After I lay down on the freshly laid futon, Mayuko tossed a sheet on me.
I'm turning off the lights.
Okay.
Sure you won't need to go to the toilet?
How old do you think I am?
I partially peeked out from under the sheet to glare at her. Mayuko made a low chuckle.
I'm just kidding. Anyway, I'm turning off the lights.
Okay.
The room momentarily turned orange and was swallowed by darkness as she pulled the cord. The night duty room's futons were kept in a closet, so they had a different smell compared to my bed. My brain had irrevocably connected that smell to Mayuko by now. I yawned and considered the cord dangling from the ceiling. It looked like it was swaying, but when I looked at it in relation to the ceiling, I understood that it wasn't the case. I had a lot on my mind, so I didn't feel sleepy at all.
Are you sleeping?
I asked in a barely audible voice.
Not anymore.
Oh, but I thought I was being quiet.
I'm not.
Mayuko gave in after a long pause.
What'd you do if I disappeared?
I rolled over to face her.
Are you planning to leave?
She asked, slightly raising her upper body.
No, I'm just speaking hypothetically. As in, you found my room empty once you went looking for me in the morning, and I wasn't anywhere else in the sanatorium. What'd you do then?
With no word from you.
With no word from me, yep.
I'd look for you. I'd contact the police and we'd scour the mountains, I suppose. Then you'd get a piece of my mind once we found you.
I see.
Why ask me something like that, though?
I just felt like it.
Mayuko let out a sigh.
Okay, well, no more of these questions, please. They're only going to make me depressed.
Hey, you'll be in good company. Okay. I'll make sure to leave a message if I go anywhere.
Please do. At times, however, you cannot be the master of your own fate. Are you sure you can make that promise so easily?
Well, fine. I'll do it as long as it's within my power.
Thank you.
And not, someone else who is also me. Not sure if I'll be strong enough.
Would you please make up your mind?
Oh, it's like you said. Sometimes you just don't have a choice.
I suppose so.
I rolled on my back and closed my eyes. The light clouds beyond the window looked like smoke in the moonlight.
Remember staying over at my grandma's this one time? My grandparents and I all slept together in the same room. I rubbed my eyes in the middle of the night and got an eyelash stuck on it. I had to use the mirror above my head to try and get it out.
Glancing at Mayuko, I saw her looking at me through drowsy, half-open eyes.
It was the kind of mirror you could turn in various angles, but it was set up to face the closed closet for some reason. Anyway, I turned it toward myself, and my grandma woke up and got really angry at me for doing that.
Why was she angry?
I don't know.
You didn't
I
ask.
was too scared to.
I see.
What do you think? Was that a scary story?
I wouldn't say it was particularly scary.
Oh, really? It's true, though. Look, I got goosebumps just remembering it.
Maybe you have to have been there to understand.
Look at my bumps. They're honking. You think there might be something weird reflected in that mirror? Or that it led to some other dimension you wouldn't be able to return?
That's a popular story about mirrors, yes?
Hey, don't brush it off just like that. The whole thing traumatized me for life.
I'm not sure I can help you with that one.
No.
Grandfather clock of the lobby struck the hour. It stopped after 11 beats.
It's late. We should go to sleep. Good night.
Oh, good night.
I stole a glance at Mayuko's face before closing my eyes. Then I continued thinking about things in the darkness of my closed eyelids. It's a bad habit that would occasionally interfere with my sleep schedule.
You don't say.
Only sometimes. Hey, wait, can you hear my monologue?
I wriggled out of my futon and got into Mayuko's.
What are you doing?
Got too scared to sleep.
Is that so?
Mayuko let out a sigh. Huh.
Just look at it, Sachi. Don't you think it's great?
I looked back over my shoulder while ascending the stairs. There was a small garden surrounded by 4 walls outside the window. Had some flower beds and a square hole in the middle that looked like a well.
How do you even enter that?
Sachiko asked.
I think I can see some doors on that wall.
It looks quite tranquil. I like it. How many of the rooms are occupied?
Most of them are, I think. There's a handicraft shop on the first floor, a tax accountant's office below us, and a law firm up above.
We reached our destination. I opened the door and let Sachiko go inside. I followed her and closed the door behind me.
What do you think?
Sachiko carefully surveyed the room.
You can put the employee desks here, and have a private desk there by the window, since you're the boss and everything.
Sachiko walked to the window and looked outside.
It's too bright here. Too much reflection to read papers.
Do you see their description of the building?
Wait. Flower beds? Small garden, 4 walls, square hole in the middle that looked like a well. Okay, and then who's here? The handicraft shop on the first floor, tax accountant's office below us, a law firm up above. None of that seems connect to anything, but the description seems oddly familiar in some ways.
Yeah, it does.
It feels kind of hot, too. I think...
Oh,
And it feels kind of hot. Good thing it's not facing south, at least.
she added.
You can put up blinds or something.
I pointed at the left side of the room.
There's a kitchen over there so we could have coffee whenever we wanted. Yeah, this other room could be perfect for meeting clients.
Sachiko turned away from the window and peeked inside the kitchen, then continued to the meeting room.
Oh, I see. You can enter this room from the corridor, too.
Small entrance by the staircase leading here.
I see. I saw another door at the end of the corridor. What was that?
Just a storage room, I think. It's close to the station and has a parking lot. The shopping street close by, we can even eat out for lunch. Oh yeah, and I found a cafe I think you'd like. What do you think? I'd say this is the best one out of all the ones we've checked today.
How much is it?
It's pretty cheap.
I took a thick stack of documents out of my bag and handed Sachiko 1 page from it.
What do you think?
Are you sure there hasn't been a murder in this building or something like that?
Well, not yet. It's just old. Imagine all sorts of old things must have happened here over the years, but does that really matter to us?
Sachiko continued silently pacing back and forth between the empty rooms. She tried knocking on some of the walls, listening to the resulting echo. She checking the storage room, we looked around to see what kind of establishments occupied the other floors. It was in the middle of a weekday, though, so everyone was busy working inside.
If you want to learn more about the others, I have a file here.
I think we can check your papers in that cafe you mentioned.
It's a good idea.
We went to the cafe.
Yeah?
Yeah. Once there, we looked over the rest of the papers we had. Sachiko paid the most attention to the building's design, both exterior and interior, as well as its expenses. I was more swayed by the ease of transport in the nearby stores. We looked over a couple of other places after that, but I didn't find anything better. It wasn't perfect, but it met all of our primary requirements. It was dark by the time we returned home. We had dinner downtown on our way back, so I went to take a bath right away. As I returned, I spotted Sachiko having a conversation on the phone in the living room. I sat down on the sofa, picked up the remote control. However, I saw Sachiko shaking her head from the corner of my eye, placed the remote control back, and instead picked up the travel pamphlet from the table. Eventually, Sachiko finished her phone call and came over to me. She looked down at me, sitting in the middle of the two-seater sofa. I returned her look and patted my knees. Her eyes narrowed.
Feast your eyes upon the ultra-deluxe Takako sofa.
Sachiko finally gave up and sat down between my legs.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I just wanted a hug.
Okay, but now you have to do the rest of the lines in this scene.
Where she's muffled because she's in her shoulder.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, the look now.
It was the head of the sales department from our old place. He called to tell me about our retirement bonus.
Oh, will it include paid vacation time?
It won't.
Oh, darn. And I work so hard, too.
Thanks to that, we won't be running out of money anytime soon.
But I got taxes next year, right? And also this year. If you haven't paid your taxes yet, it's probably too late for the time this episode comes out. I wonder if it's gonna be okay.
I've already calculated that. It's gonna be okay.
Well, if you had worked a little harder, you may have more leeway, though.
Hey now, any more in that engineering department would have killed me.
Oh, but the blame lies with sales and not engineering, right? The manager accepted projects with no regard for the already packed schedules of the staff.
That sucked too, but the worst part was how our manager decided we didn't need weekends anymore, and made insane overtime a part of the daily routine on top of all that.
Oh, we got paid, didn't you? Allowed us to advance our plan ahead of schedule.
It was just like she said. Our goals were to go independent and travel around the world, and we managed to achieve both a few years earlier than expected. The future looking bright, our past hurdles felt like a pleasant memory. I added more strength to my embrace and hugged Sachiko tighter from behind.
Hey, have you decided where you want to go yet? No, I'm not going to leave your shoulder. I'm shoulder gremlining.
Fair enough.
Sachiko considered the pamphlet we got from the tourism agency.
I thought about it, but I feel that your suggestion about going to the sea somewhere far in the south sounds like the best option so far. It's summer over there right now, isn't it? I wanted to experience that at least once.
Right? And speaking of new experiences, you can't fire guns or go skydiving in here, so that's cool too.
I leaped through the pamphlet from behind.
Takako with a gun, oh no.
The only thing more dangerous than Takako is Takako with a gun. Aw, yeah.
Sachiko saying,
That doesn't sound too bad.
we spent some time talking about travel, imagining skies and seas we'd never be able to see from our native land. Sachiko turned on the TV after we finished. She flipped through a few channels until we were on the evening news. The announcer was talking about the economy or something.
I think our economy's doing well.
Yeah, that definitely sounds like it.
Some businessmen were being interviewed on the screen right now.
What kind of office do you want to run?
Sachiko asked.
I guess where we can all talk about the future.
That doesn't sound too bad.
Sachiko said after a brief pause. Is it just me or is Takako kind of like imagining Sachiko for that entire sequence?
Maybe.
Because she was the one doing all of the active things. And And Sachiko was talking about like Takako was going to be running the place.
Yeah.
Again, I'm pretty sure all three of our main viewpoint characters through this are the same person. I realized it was a dream as soon as I opened my eyes. I glanced at the clock in the dimly lit room. It was 6 o'clock in the morning. Mayuko was sleeping next to me in silence. I was thinking with my eyes closed before falling asleep, so I wasn't sure how long I'd been out for, but I still felt kind of sleepy. It was too early to wake up. I closed my eyes again. The contents of my dream naturally flashed through my mind's eye again. I realized what I had lost after finishing reading that diary. The past me never worried about things like this. I was able to deal with everything a lot better than I could now. I knew that Sachiko had my back even if I screwed up. It never felt like that big a deal for me to leave my hometown, and it didn't bother me to give up on my job. Similarly, I didn't worry too much about the feasibility of us establishing our new office. I just drew what I wanted to, and Sachiko would color it for me. It was all so easy. A lot of things. Sachiko would color it for me.
Interesting.
Sachiko being the always commented about Takako's colors, huh?
Yeah.
A lot of things become easy when you share them with someone you trust. I thought about Mayuko, who was now on the other side of my eyelids.
That's a good phrase.
Yeah. I had no words to express just how much happier my life would have been if Sachiko hadn't vanished from it. If only Mayuko was Sachiko. But I love Mayuko for who she was, too. If I was her, I wouldn't want someone to love me because I looked like someone else.
Okay, lampshading it. That people all look the same for mysterious reasons.
It was either Mayuko or Sachiko lying beside me, and there was no in between. I considered if I had any tools to confirm it. I couldn't find anything no matter how many times I read through the notebook. All I had was that image of Sachiko in the dark cave. It felt like that place held all the answers. I had to go to that room one more time. The thought of it made my blood run cold. And I had no guarantees I'd be able to make it back this time. And Takako here speaking like she was Sachiko's perspective from the last time she went to the room. Do.
Chapter 8.
Yeah, we're really moving, aren't we, at this point?
A brisk clip.
And the sea and the old anchored ship. I found a gravel roundabout outside the station. A roundabout?
I was just laughing because Nagasaki sure is talkative for an inanimate object that's been set on fire.
Yeah. She's still doing a whole lot, isn't she? At its corner, there was a parking lot with a 3-door car parked under a big tree with broad leaves. It was the car I used before coming here. The moss green car's form reminded me of a Civic from the 60s or 70s, but its front was more curved than it should have been. It was an old thing I didn't even know the exact brand of, and could be held to control at times, but I appreciated it, as a car that was mine and mine alone. After circling around the car to the driver's seat, I took the key from my jacket's pocket and unlocked the door so I could get inside. After confirming the position of the seat, I turned the ignition key. Feeling the vibration of the engine, I turned the wooden handle and stepped on the gas, proceeding to drive out of the rotary. The sunlight from the blue sky fell directly on my face as I changed directions. I grabbed a pair of sunglasses from the passenger compartment and put them on. I changed gears, then flipped the radio switch a few times as I reached a wooded mountain path. I still couldn't hear anything through the rattling of the car, so I turned up the volume. Nah, fuck it, turn it off. I continued down the road along the sea after reaching the town at the foot of the mountain. The scenery slowly changed from suburbs with impressive western mansions to more urban restaurants and cafes as I drove closer to the center of town. Finding a hotel sign, I parked the car at a nearby parking lot. I knocked on the booth by the parking lot and handed the keys to a middle-aged man watching a game of soccer inside. I spotted a park with a locomotive exhibit in the center as I left the parking lot. A bunch of children were playing on its roof. I glanced at the hotel sign one more time, then continued down to the shopping district through the park's southern exit. I passed by a loud pachinko parlor that reeked of tobacco smoke, and turned the corner by a clothes store to find 3 cheap hotels lined up next to each other. From the signs in front of them, it seemed like they all cost about the same. I chose one in the middle, seeing how it had advertised its offering of hot springs, and passed through the automatic glass doors to reach the counter. Moments after pushing the bell on the counter, a young man in a suit emerged from the door on the other side.
Welcome.
Hello, I'd like to book a room for 2 nights. The man fiddled with a machine behind the counter. There were 2 empty piercing holes in his right ear. Oh. Wait. Remember the guy that showed up, like, at the office? Didn't he have piercings he took out?
Did he?
Or am I hallucinating that? I might be hallucinating that.
I don't remember.
Yeah, you know what? I'll have to go back and watch it.
We have available rooms on the 2nd and 4th floors. Is there a particular floor you'd prefer?
Either would be fine.
Understood.
Oh, wait, do you have a room facing the mountain? The man shifted his gaze to the machine again.
Yes, on the 4th floor.
I'll take that one then.
Understood. So would you prefer Eastern or Western food for dinner?
I glanced at the clock on the wall and saw that it was around 7 o'clock. I'll eat out tonight. I took my wallet out and left all my bags in the room before going to the shopping district. I continued down a road covered by a large arched roof. Though some of its glass panels, I could see the gray sky looming above. The store in front of me had its shutters down, and there was a picture painted on it. A child in a straw hat holding an insect net was running around in a green field. There was a yellow car behind him. There were all sorts of establishments around every corner, but most of them had notices posted on their entrance that stated that they were closed for the holidays. As I continued down the road, all while inspecting the many closed shutters, and reached the end of the shopping district after only a few minutes of walking. There was a breakwater a bit further from where the arched roof ended. The breeze coming from the other side brought the scent of sea to my nostrils. I looked around and entered a cafe at the edge of the shopping district. A lone man with his white hair combed back from the forehead stood in front of the empty establishment. He wore a well-ironed white shirt and a black apron.
What will you be ordering?
The old man asked. While I was hesitating, he picked up a menu and handed it to me.
You can choose from original, American, espresso, Viennese, and ice.
Go ahead, say espresso. I dare you. I double dog dare you.
Espresso.
I'm going to... Do you call ice Recco in these parts?
The younger generation no longer does.
Oh, I see.
Would you like to order ice?
One original, please. I saw a waiter making coffee from an instant pack when I ordered ice at a cafe. That was the last time I ever ordered it. The establishment might have kept proper blends for ice orders, but there was no way of telling without asking them. I could have inquired about the difference between preparing ice and original blends, but that would have made it awkward if I decided to order something else. Most of my acquaintances might have considered me a person who voiced whatever was on her mind without reservation, but I actually took quite deliberate care to think things through before speaking up.
One original, understood.
The old man mumbled, almost as if he was talking to himself. Do you have any newspapers here?
We do. It's behind that pot.
He pointed at the potted plant on the side of the counter. I circled around it to find a well-hidden newspaper stand, and several newspapers of various dates, the newest one being on top. I randomly picked one and turned to the counter. The bubbly sound of coffee being siphoned reached my ears as I opened the newspaper. I checked the column located in the corner of the page. There's a piece complaining about what some politicians said or did. I flipped over to the economics section and read the article with a large picture attached. And then I skimmed through a few more pages, and...
Here you are, the blend you have ordered.
Thank you. I pushed the newspaper aside to let the old man place my cup of coffee on the counter. Picked up the cup with one hand, took a sip, and placed it back on the saucer. A plastic sheet covered the counter. There was a black and white picture of a steamboat on the other side of it. I also spotted a model of a Titanic further beyond the counter. It might have been the Gigantic, though. There was no way to tell without looking at a bit closer. I rolled up the newspaper. Is the port nearby?
It's right outside the shopping district.
I see. Thank you.
Are you one of them tourists?
Something like that, I suppose. I came here to visit my friend, I added.
Last I heard, a big ship could be heading this way soon. You can see
Last I heard, a big ship could be heading this way soon.
You can see countless ships in the port.
I'm talking about a really huge thing, like this model that you've got there. I pointed at the Titanic behind the counter. The old man closed his eyes.
Oh, you want to see a ship like that?
Yeah, sure.
An unusual wish coming from a young girl like you.
Really?
We got planes these days.
Young girl, huh? I guess
Yeah.
comparatively, yeah, okay.
Only my old geezer friends don't ever talk about ships anymore.
It's not like I'm an actual ship enthusiast or anything either. The old man stepped out from the counter and picked up a thin hardcover book from the rack where I got that newspaper earlier. He placed it on the counter and opened up on a color picture depicting a ship.
You could tell this game was written before, what's the Boat Girls game?
Boat Girls game?
Yeah, the gacha game where the girls are ships.
Oh!
Ship enthusiasts are back in, I think, or were at one point.
Ship enthusiasts? Do they also leak military secrets on the ship enthusiast boards? Or is that only for tank enthusiasts?
It's unclear.
There are as many types of ships as there are birds.
The book had different ship models on each page with articles on their history. A longboat with countless paddles sticking out of its walls like legs of a caterpillar, and then a ship with a thick mast and a huge sail casting a shadow on its deck. A ship with a chimney on top, wisps of smoke rising from it toward the sky. The old man's wrinkled hands turned one page after the other.
Ships have evolved with time, much like everything else, always striving for the most effective way to travel over water. Paddling eventually evolved into sails and wind power, which in turn paved the way for steam engines and eventually propellers.
The model over there is a steamship, right?
Yep, you don't see them much anymore.
Really?
Most of the passenger ships have diesel engines these days. Steamships went out of fashion over half a century ago. This 5-story floating hotel cruise is a diesel ship, for example.
So they're on a cruise boat.
What?
Is that what he's... Oh no, he's gesturing at the ship. He's... Okay, sorry. Oh, he pointed at one of the pictures in the book. It looks like a whole city floating on the water. Might not have castles in the skies just yet, but I guess we do have some on the water.
Crossing the ocean on water became impractical with the development of the jet engine and the oil prices following the war. Most of the passenger ships these days are cruises, where being on a ship is the main attraction rather than reaching your destination. They have restaurants, bars, even movie theaters on board.
I think I saw one of those on television.
This one with the chimney sticking out is a steamship.
Like the Titanic.
That's the most famous steamship, I suppose. It comes from the period right before the war, the very pinnacle of steamship history. Back in those days, they still made them with the intent to cross the ocean.
Is this one with wheels also a steamship? I pointed at the picture of a ship with large, funny-looking wheels.
This one's called a paddle steamer, one of the earlier steamships. Perry's flagship, which came to Japan during the Perry expedition, was just like it. There are also some paddle steamers that have their turbines in the back, like this one.
He flipped the page. So ships with sails went out of fashion even before those.
They served as the primary means of transport till the 19th century, when steamships were invented in Europe.
He went a few pages back.
As you can see, they utilize wind to propel themselves forward. They've been in use throughout the entirety of the age of exploration, and have evolved in many ways in their own right. If you look carefully, you can notice that the positions and shapes of the sails are different depending on the period, and sometimes even the country in question.
He showed me a page with a lot of ship pictures on a world map. Is this the Santa Maria?
You could say that in a way. It's a sailboat with 3 masts, which is the same model as the Santa Maria that Columbus used to cross the Atlantic Ocean.
I gave the steamship model behind the counter another look. After finishing my light meal, I took out some change from the pocket of my jacket that I hanged on the backrest of the chair. Thank you.
It was my pleasure. Are you going to the port now?
I do not know. I guess I'll think about it after I see how cold it is outside, I answered while sliding my hands into the sleeves of my jacket. Thank you for the information, by the way. I had fun.
I should be the one thanking you. I don't get many opportunities to talk to young women in this place at my age. Don't hesitate to pay our establishment another visit if you feel like it.
I'll think about it. And with that, I left the place and stepped out onto the poorly lit shopping district. There were even more closed shutters now compared to when I entered the cafe. I thought about visiting the port, but then changed my mind and went straight for the hotel instead. Interesting. So how's that important patient meeting you have, Narasaki? How's that going?
Although, did we hear about the important patient meeting from her perspective, or did we hear about that one from Sachiko's perspective?
Sachiko. The shower I hoped would wake me up felt like a tropical downpour, even after the slightest turn of the handle. I promptly washed my sweat off and wrapped myself in a towel. Freshly reinvigorated, I left the bathroom with steady steps and finished the can of beer I had left on the table.
Shower beer.
Shower beer is so delightful. Like, I'm a huge proponent of shower coffee, but I think shower beer is the more universally enjoyable experience. It tasted like warm, bitter water. It tastes like the beer tasted like beer. It's tautological brew.
My shower felt like a shower. The beer tasted like a beer.
Describing things is so easy. Why do you all have such trouble with it? As I closed my eyes and began wiping my hair with the towel resting on my shoulders, a blue light slowly extended along the inner side of my eyelids. That's probably the hotel manager.
Have a good day.
A cold gust of wind rattled the collar of my coat as I stepped out of the hotel. I left the still fairly deserted shopping district and continued down to a barber shop I saw by the park. A young woman with glasses seemed to be in the process of opening the shutters and setting up the signboard of the establishment. Our eyes met.
Good morning.
The woman made a curt bow. Are you open?
Yes, just moments ago. Do come inside.
She opened the glass door with the tall Pachira houseplant right next to it and urged me inside. There was only a single chair in the classical western interior.
I can hang your coat for you.
I took off my jacket and handed it to her. As soon as I seated myself in the chair, she spun it so I'd be facing the mirror.
What would you like?
To see myself in the mirror. I slipped my arm through the sheet, protecting me from a stray locks of hair while she fiddled with the chair to raise me up. Just a regular haircut and some shampooing as well.
Okay. What kind of haircut would you like? Do you wish to consult our catalog?
I'm fine with what I have, just make it a few centimeters shorter. Pointed at the length I wanted my hair to be.
Understood. I'll undo your hair then.
I nodded and she removed my hair clip and placed it on the cabinet. A hair clip, not a, like a ponytail. Not like a hair tie. Felt my head being pulled backwards as she brushed my hair. I closed my eyes and inhaled a breath. However, I was suddenly pulled out of my slumber by the chirping of some bird. Opened my eyes and looked at the mirror to see a birdcage by the register, with a red parrot cocking its head within. The barber sprinkled and brushed my hair with experienced emotions. She was about to place the scissors against my head when our eyes met in the mirror. She made a few exaggerated blinks like a character from some Western cartoon.
Is this how long you would like it?
That's about right, thank you. The narrow room held a register, a sofa, a chair, and a mirror for cutting hair, a cabinet with the usual barber items inside, and an indoor plant. Glancing around, I also spotted a small old TV to my right near the ceiling. I could see the reflection of my face on its dark screen.
Could you please not move your hat?
Oh, my apologies.
Would you like me to turn off the TV? As you can see, it's pretty old, so I can't vouch for the quality of the screen.
That's alright, I don't really want to watch TV. I heard a sharp slicing sound, after which a lock of my hair fell to my knees.
You have nice hair.
Do you think so?
You must spend a lot of time maintaining it.
I could feel the sheet on my shoulders getting heavier as my hair gradually piled up on it, with each new slice from the barber's scissors.
Do you come from the city?
You can tell.
I can more or less tell from the way you're dressed. That coat was brand new, wasn't it? And it's from a minor brand, too. You won't find things like that around here.
You're probably right. They said something along those lines in the store, I believe. You're pretty knowledgeable about these things, aren't you?
You could say it's a hobby of mine.
Oh, do you work alone in this shop?
Yes. I used to work at Harajuku.
Whoa. Isn't that like the hotbed of the industry? The barber let out an embarrassed laugh.
Well, things have changed. At one point, we had a barber boom of sorts and accepted lots of jobs, but most people these days seem to prefer cheaper options located closer to their homes. As you might imagine, the whole thing kind of faded out over time.
And now you're back here in the countryside.
Yes, but I'm glad I made that choice. I get customers just because I have a reputation of having worked in a big city. I saved up some money during those days, so I had no problem establishing my own shop over here.
That sounds pretty nice.
Where are you from?
From Kyushu, actually.
I see. I've never been there myself.
My hometown is famous for its hot springs.
Oh, that sounds nice.
We also had a port not unlike the one in this town. After leaving the barber shop, I looked around the shopping district, buying a few things here and there, then boarded my car to drive back to the clinic. The port town visible beyond the trees covering the mountain grew smaller and smaller in the distance as I continued down the unpaved road. My car shook with every hole I drove over. I stopped by the observation platform I spotted right next to the road. Took out my can of coffee, climbed onto the platform, and took a quick sip after sitting down on the bench there. I could see the entire port town. I took another sip while observing its architecture from the distance. I let out a breath and gave the scenery another scrutinizing look. It was made better than I expected. I couldn't spot any disparities between it and the road I took to Fujisaka Mansion. There was not a single detail wrong in the town either. The shopping district's arch and the sudden breakwater just outside it by the ferry boarding platform looked suspiciously like my hometown. A certain phrase popped into my mind as I compared the two sides. A world slowly dying to preserve her life. Sachiko said that Takako's imagination exceeded hers by a wide margin. However, I didn't feel like that was true. I didn't know the extent of Takako's world, but I simply couldn't imagine it being even more detailed than this. This world could extend indefinitely, like a sponge constantly absorbing all sorts of different values and thoughts without discrimination. And that meant I could finish my job here without worries. I took out a few pieces of paper from my jacket's pocket. The way to the clinic was scrawled on one of them. I wrote that one down before coming here. The others were pages of a diary. Her memories. Memories I had to preserve. Imagine Sachiko sitting on the stool in the lobby.
Hmm.
I saw a mansion through the leaves covering the mountain road. Upon reaching the black iron fence, I passed through the red brick gates. There was a sign reading Kunugahara Sanatorium on them. I parked my car by the mansion and turned off the engine. I stepped out of the car and continued toward the entrance. The mansion was built of gray and red bricks, its windows and doors boasting sturdy wooden frames. It looked very much like the mansion Sachiko stayed at, but in terms of design, it was an even older structure. Is she trying to convince us now that there are two exact separate things?
She just said, though, that it was within Sachiko's imagination, and that it was a perfectly built replica of the entire town, which was also their hometown.
Got it, yeah.
So I think she is just now we're at the stage of Nagasaki is aware that she is in dream logic and dream geography and is traveling from the one part of this imagined landscape to the other part to fulfill her mission, which is to deliver the diary pages from the one bit to the other bit. Which happens to be the same bit in the same actual physical location.
Just a slightly different bit.
Yeah, that's my thought at least.
Oh, that's good. Its front doors were open. I could see a lobby and the counter from outside. I pressed the call bell on the counter. A stringent sound reverberated across the lobby, but I received no reply. Is no one here? Someone glanced at me through the door window on the other end of the lobby. After our eyes met, the person disappeared. I hurried to the door. I opened it to find myself in the inner yard of the building. There was a tall paresa tree in the middle. I spotted the back of a woman with braided hair moving toward the west wing.
Oh, are you a guest?
Hearing a voice from above made me turn around. When I did, I saw a woman in a nurse outfit looking at me through the guardrails on the building's roof. I'm sorry, I rang your bell, but no one came, so...
My apologies, I'll be down in a minute.
She let go of the guardrails and disappeared, but then her head popped up again.
You can wait in the lobby.
All right. Also, are you a guest here at the sanatorium? I returned to the lobby and checked the clock. It seemed to be around noon. In winter. According to the clock. The glass panel covering its pendulum reflected my face. I fiddled with my bangs for a while. When I straightened my back, I felt sharp pain in my neck. When I slid my hand underneath my scarf, I found a piece of hair sticking to my neck.
Sorry to have kept you waiting.
The young woman in the nurse outfit appeared in the lobby. Hello.
Hello. I'm Koma Mayuko. I work here as a nurse.
I'm Narasaki Hibiki.
What brings you here?
I came to visit a patient.
Just one moment.
The nurse, calling herself Mayuko, moved behind the counter and took out a form and pen from the drawer. Calling herself Mayuko.
Please fill this out.
The paper she placed on the counter had columns made for time periods and patient names. I placed the present I brought on my way here on the counter, then took the pen from her and filled out the form with the information she wanted. Mayuko took my form and ran her eyes through it.
Instant suspicion face. Are you a friend or a family member?
No, I was merely asked to check on her by a mutual acquaintance. It's just a little something I brought for her. I lifted the paper bag I placed on the counter.
I see.
Mayuko returned the form to its drawer and moved out of the counter.
Follow me. I'll show you to her room.
She passed by me and continued up the spiral staircase. The walls along the stairway were lined with small paintings. I peeked out through a window on our way and spotted a camphor tree in the inner yard. Mayuko stole a glance at me, probably curious as to why I was looking around so much. You have a pretty scenic place here. I made up something on the spot.
It used to be the mansion of a rich family before being turned into a sanatorium.
Lot of that going around. Was almost identical to the Fujisaka mansion Sachiko stayed at. Mayuko stopped in front of one of the rooms and knocked on the door. A dull wooden sound reverberated in the hallway.
Takako, you have a visitor.
Mayuko then seized the doorknob and opened the door. It was not locked, apparently.
I'm coming in.
I followed her into the room. The room itself was surprisingly empty. It had only a bed and a single shelf. Takako did not seem to be around, though.
Ah, she forgot to close her window again.
Mayuko mumbled as she closed the window.
It doesn't look like she's around.
Yes.
Oh, wait.
Oh, it doesn't look like she's around.
Yes.
Can I wait here?
Of course, but we have other patients here, so I would kindly ask you not to wander outside if possible.
Don't worry. I'll read a book or something. Mayuko began walking to the door.
I'll tell her you're here if I manage to find her.
I nodded.
You should be able to find me in the lobby or the inner yard if there's anything you need. The door opposite the entrance leads to it.
I'll keep that in mind.
I'll be on my way then. What was that face?
Right? Right? What was that face for a moment? Wait, we've seen that face before. Who else had that face?
I thought it looked kind of like Sachiko's faces, but
Was it one of Sachiko's face? We've seen that face before. Mayuko smiled and left the room. Left alone, I slowly surveyed my surroundings. It really was an empty room. I glanced at the shelf and spotted something shining on it. Upon approaching the shelf, I realized they were colored glass beads reflecting the light of the evening sun. I shifted my gaze to the rest of the shelf. It was filled with books and notebooks. The notebooks were probably Takako's diaries. I got curious about what they might contain, but considering how awkward it would have been if Takako came back as I was reading one, I decided against touching them for now. Sitting down on the bed, I looked out the window, specifically at the sky above the port. The clock in the lobby pointed at around the children's napping time. Purple and pink colors extended and merged on the sky, giving it the feel of a watercolor canvas. I placed my hand between my legs and joined my fingers. By getting more comfortable, I feared I might fall asleep. It was a heavy and unforgiving sleepiness. I would most likely have lost consciousness if I so much as closed my eyes. My fingers slipped out of each other's grasp. The sunlight passed through my fingers as if they were transparent. Just as I pressed my fingers against my eyelids to massage them for a few moments, I heard the sound of the door opening behind me. When I turned around, I saw the door being partially open, with a sliver of corridor visible through the gap. No one was there. And still, with no sense of any human presence, the door closed. The floor let out a creak. The creaks continued to the shelf and then stopped. I rubbed my eyes again, but all I could see was the wall. And while I looked at the remnants of dust floating in the air, the bed let out a creak next. I blinked a few times, and I felt like I could almost glimpse Sachiko for a moment. Perhaps she'd just returned to her room in the Fujisaka mansion. I lay down on the bed just now. The sounds disappeared when I started thinking about her. For a few moments, a gust of cold wind made my hair flutter. Despite the window being closed, the incoming breeze carried a certain humidity, as well as the scent of soil. Yet I was more than familiar with the source and nature of that wind. It came straight from my heart, calling out to me. I ignored it, and soon enough it began to wane and eventually vanished. However, it still managed to remind me of the cave I got lost in back when I was looking for Sachiko. I found myself unnerved and unable to relax anymore. I stood up and decided to leave the room for now. The rays of the setting sun passed through the crown of the large tree in the inner yard, filling the corridor with a dim orange light. The chilly air I was exposed to in the room gave way for the scent of old wood, with remnants of warm dust floating in the air. I found the rest area right away and sat down in one of the chairs. I could still see Takako's door from here. Spending some time reading, I spotted something move from the corner of my eye. Someone was walking down the opposing corridor I could see from the window. That person continued toward my location, their tied-up hair fluttering in the air. I waited for them to come by, while pretending to read. Eventually, a tall woman appeared on the other end of the corridor. She gave me a suspicious sidelong glance as she carefully tried to pass by me. "Hello," I said in greeting. She had no choice but to stop. "I am looking for Takako. You wouldn't know her, would you?" As I closed my book, she faced me with a bold look in her eyes. Rather than being wary of a sudden guest, she appeared curious, if anything. She was quite tall for a woman, boasting a height that would easily put her in the same league as professional sportswomen or models. Her facial features had yet to fully mature. I could easily recognize her as the same person I'd seen during my kindergarten days. She was carrying a plastic bag in one hand, no doubt having just returned from buying groceries.
Yeah, that's me.
I see. My name is Narasaki. Actually, it's not the first time we've met, but I can see that you don't remember me. I stood up from the chair. I could immediately tell she did not recognize me. It doesn't matter. I came to talk to you about the unusual illness that you have.
My illness?
Takako shifted the plastic bag to her other hand and crossed her arms. I heard something akin to stones rustling inside of it.
Guess I'm not particularly busy.
I nodded. Well, that's right. I brought you something from the town. Do you like sweets? I handed her the paper bag with the confectionery box.
Thanks, of course I like sweets.
That's good to hear. To tell the truth, Sachiko had once told me Takako was a big fan of sweet bean paste, especially enclosed in something crisp. You know, like wafers in the case of Monaka.
It's been a while since I came here, but it's my first time getting an actual visitor. Feels surprisingly nice. Is it gonna be a long story?
She asked. That depends.
Well, in that case, let's go somewhere else. Can't even serve you tea here.
Takako started down the corridor. I followed her, but we ended up passing by her door and continued down the stairs. Isn't your room over there?
Yeah, but my room doesn't have a chair.
I see.
Did Maya go show you inside? What was she even thinking, making you wait in a place like that?
She jokingly remarked.
The night duty room is a Japanese-style room, so we can sit on the floor. There's also tea and snacks.
Takako's twin tails fluttered in the air with each of her steps. You seem to be doing all right.
I am. It's not the kind of illness that really affects my physical health, is it? Just wish it didn't mess with my head so I could remember you, at least.
Oh, don't worry about it. It has been a very long time.
If you say so.
How many patients are in the sanatorium?
Only 4 people live here, including me.
That is fewer than I thought.
Isn't that a good thing?
I suppose it is.
Did you come here by car?
Takako changed the subject. Yes, it wasn't easy to drive up that mountain road.
Right? People don't usually come so far out into the mountains.
You don't get bored here.
It's true that I don't get many chances to go outside, but not as bad as it sounds. Maybe a few people here, but there's a lot to do. Might go make sure to find an odd job for me every day.
Is she strict with you?
No, not at all. She even said that half of her was made of pure kindness, actually.
Sounds like headache medicine.
She said she found out through a blood test.
Science sure seems to have advanced in recent times, hasn't it? Takako chuckled as I said that.
So anyway, do you think I could make more of me by jumping in the ground? Planting myself?
As soon as we entered the night duty room, Takako turned on the heater, picked up 2 pillows lying next to it, and placed them at both ends of the small dining table. She dropped her bag on the table and promptly disappeared into the kitchen. I sat down on the pillow facing the kitchen and waited for her to make the tea. There was something shining in her bag. I stole a brief glance at its contents, finding a bunch of glass beads. The little translucent stones sparkled in the evening sun.
Sorry to kept you waiting.
Takako placed a cup of tea and some snacks in front of me. Thank you.
Now we can take our time.
And what is up with this bag? I pointed at the beads of glass in the bag.
Oh, that's sea glass. Didn't you know? The beach is full of them.
They're beautiful.
Right? I was thinking of decorating my shelf with them. Want to take a look?
She cheerfully pulled one glass bead out of the bag and handed it to me. It was pink in color and had the consistency of a stone.
I don't know how much longer I'll be able to find them at the beach, though. I hear they're planning to build a factory there or something.
Heard about that from people in town. They want to enlarge the port so freighters can access it, correct? Takako nodded. The old guy that told me about it belongs to the fishing union. Says he's going to live off the compensation he'll get for having to quit his business over this.
I wonder if the mere compensation would be enough to last him a lifetime. It'd be better for him to simply move to other fishing grounds or something.
Apparently another union is using nets to fish for octopuses and prawns, and they don't want to make their area any smaller than it already is.
Can they fish together?
Then it's impossible to fish where the nets are already set. There's this thing called the right of demarcated fishery that separates who can fish with whom or whatever.
I see.
I wonder if there's really nothing he can do.
It's only natural for cities to evolve in modern times, right? Sometimes you can't avoid making sacrifices in order to achieve that.
Oh shit, I had it backwards the entire time.
Can't fight the times, huh?
Said Takako while closing her eyes and nodding 3 times. I took a sip of her green tea. It had a very nice smell. The monaka I brought rested on a small plate in the middle of the table. Takako was busy chewing on one.
Hey, this is good. Where'd you buy them?
I don't remember the exact name, but it was some confectionery over at the shopping district of the port town.
I think I know which one. The shopping district that cable cars send to, right?
I believe so, yes.
You should ask Mayuko to buy me some next time.
Takako finished her cup and filled it with another serving of tea right away.
Said you had something to tell me about my illness. Are you a doctor, perhaps?
More or less. I'm investigating the illness that you have.
What are you investigating exactly?
Everything. From the symptoms to the cause of the treatment.
That's why you came here?
There's no other treatment facility for this illness in the country. Takako widened her eyes in surprise.
I didn't know. Is that true?
I nodded. Your system for managing the symptoms is currently functioning very well, so I imagine the staff here found no reason to explain the details to the patients. Takako seemed to freeze up in thought, but I continued talking. It's a very unusual disease. How much do you know about it?
I lose a part of my memories after my ears start ringing. That's all I know.
Takako gave me an anxious look as I considered where I should start from. You're right about the relationship of those 2 symptoms. However, you seem to have the order backwards. Your ears start ringing after you lose your memories. It's an automatic panic response to a traumatic event, in which, in this case, is memory loss. Do you know anything about the other symptoms?
No, is there anything else?
It's unusual for it to happen, but there are cases when symptoms suddenly start to advance at a rapid pace. In your case, you only forget short episodes from your life, and it doesn't happen very often, so you're smart about it. You can use notes and such to refresh your memory. But during a rapid memory loss episode, you lose your memories too fast to keep up.
What happens if you lose everything?
The patient forgets who he or she was completely. Takako knitted her brows. That only happened to a select few patients, though, so don't worry too much.
Can I ask you something weird?
What is it?
Patients that lose all their memories just end up disappearing altogether, like a wisp of smoke?
Is this some urban legend?
The person who was here for longer than me said that they heard something like that.
I curled the corner of my lips into a smile. That sounds like a magic trick.
Yeah.
Takako answered, making a faint smile herself.
I always thought you and Sanai were trying to pull one on me.
I shook my head. I don't know anyone by that name. Takako took a bite from the manaka she still had in her hand. However, losing your identity might not be that different from turning into smoke in this world. Takako's features twisted in slight confusion as she continued chewing on the wafers. She had a truly rich palette of expressions, changing from cheerful to scared and confused in a matter of seconds. It had been fighting the urge to chuckle for a while now. It's a rare disease we still don't know too much about, and that gives birth to rumors. As someone afflicted, don't you want to know more about it?
Is there more?
Takako asked as she gulped down the manaka. I placed my empty cup on the table and stood up. I would like to show you something. I looked back as I exited the night duty room to see Takako following me. I used to work at this place a long time ago.
Really?
She made a pause and then added,
Mayuko know that?
I shook my head. No, she didn't work here when I was still around. I imagine she got hired sometime afterwards. I continued down the corridor until we reached the furthest door on the first floor. In place of a sign, there was only an empty space. It didn't seem like the room saw much use anymore. I fished out a key ring from my pocket and stuck one of the keys into the lock. The key made an audible clicking sound as I turned it. I forgot to turn the keys when I left, I explained to the puzzled Takako. I stepped through the door and into the familiar consultation room. It's a little worried considering all the changes the building underwent over the years, but it's like my room remained more or less unchanged. Everything from my desk and the bed to the chair had been left untouched. Even my favorite cup of coffee was still there. I couldn't spot any dust covering anything. All the medical records were still lying on the desk where I left them. It almost felt like the room was still in use. I entered with Takako following closely behind. Wait, is this why we see... I'm still thinking about the thing where like the two towns are both existing in Sachiko's dream, right? Is that why we see Kozue lives at one of them but also travels between the two of them?
Oh. Probably.
Because we see her.
Maybe.
She lives at one of them, right? I think she lives here with Takako in this half. But we see her making travels over to use the library on the other side.
That's funny if that's why. I like that. I like that.
Is this the old consultation room?
Yep. You don't seem to have a doctor here right now, but in the past, this is where we performed the examinations and such. Takako looked around the room. I picked up one of the medical records while she investigated my shelf. Upon closer inspection, I realized that most of the pages were torn out. I turned to Takako. Takako had gone further into the room and was now looking into a silver bucket on the floor. It was full to the brim with gray ash.
Did someone have a bonfire here?
I wonder. I took out the necessary records from the shelf, lined them on the desk, and sat down. These are the records of the symptoms we discussed. I logged everything I found over the few years I worked with patients here. A bunch of medical records in German, diary notebooks, and pictures lay scattered on the desk for Takako to see.
You got pictures.
Oh, you've got pictures. Wait. Oh, no.
What?
No, I was right.
You got pictures.
I took them hoping they would help me fight the memory loss. I also have tapes with recorded conversations. However, they didn't do much good in the end, as people are rarely conscious of their looks or voice, and don't usually associate them with memories. Haha, here it is. See, I'm in this one too. I took out one of the pictures from the file and handed it to Takako.
Ah, you look just like you do now.
I smiled. Takako looked over the other pictures in the medical record. All of them were black and white, faded with age, and some of them I couldn't even recognize the patients anymore.
What is this one of?
Takako showed me one of the pictures, depicted the empty corner of a room.
That one?
That one is nothing,
Okay.
Takako said with a shrug.
I don't know anyone from these records. Where are they gone?
I only know about things up to when I left. They either got cured or...
I'm sure they all got cured.
I hope so. I checked to see if there was anything else on the shelf by my desk and then sat down. Following my cue, Takako sat down herself.
Why did you leave, Miss Narasaki?
The approach of how we are supposed to deal with this illness has changed. From a research institute, we turned into a sanatorium that prioritized looking after patients, rather than investigating and trying to treat their disease. I had the choice to stay behind, but the symptoms became much easier to manage once we implemented the notebook diary approach. Figured I could be of more use elsewhere. You're still writing diaries, right? Takako nodded.
Why did the approach change?
It was a matter of money. We never got enough funds, and most doctors came to research illness pretty much on volunteer basis, but the establishment couldn't last long like that. So it slowly started to turn into the self-sufficient colony you have now.
Guess the patients didn't used to work here in the past.
They did not.
Sounds nice.
She placed the picture she held back on the desk. She looked around the room again.
So you're researching this illness in this room, right? Wondering about it for a while now, but why do people forget things to begin with?
Only natural to forget this and that sometime.
You know that, but I read in a book that there's enough space in the human brain to store all the information without forgetting anything. I was wondering why it still happened.
The most prevalent theory states that all information does get stored in your brain and never really disappears for good. You just don't remember it.
Well, so how does that work, and why?
There are many theories on the subject. For example, it might not be the passage of time that makes you forget things, but rather the act of forgetting actually makes you conscious of the passage of time. Besides, there might be a lot of space in your brain, but there's only so much you can think about at a given time, correct? Being able to remember everything all the time might prevent your head from functioning properly. Like if I asked you what you had for dinner, and then that evoked an image of every single dinner you've ever had in your life. That would be pretty confusing, would it not?
I guess so. Imagine that would also negate the feeling of wanting to eat something you haven't had in ages.
And about covers it. Takako pressed a finger against her lower lip. I shoved a hand in my pocket, realizing I still had the glass bead she handed me earlier. I assume you can now accept I've been researching this subject for a while now? Takako removed her finger from her lips and looked at me as though having suddenly realized something.
Yeah, you said you wanted to tell me something about my illness.
To tell you the truth, I came here to ask you for 2 favors.
Favors? What do you mean?
I want to try something on you. If it goes well, you may be cured.
That doesn't have anything to do with needles.
And don't worry, it does not. It just needs a little dedication on your part, that's all.
Huh? What do I need to do?
I just want to confirm one thing before we begin. Did you receive my parcel?
Huh?
There had to be a parcel addressed to you. A hint of recognition lit up in Takako's eyes.
You talking about the notebook? Did you send that to me?
Yes, that is the one. So you did receive it.
Did you write it?
She carefully asked. I shook my head. I know you have questions, but I myself have no idea who wrote that. I just found it at the library. Takako, having unconsciously risen from her chair in the meantime, sank back down into it. I see that you've already read it.
It's full of episodes from Sachiko's life and my own. Things that only the 2 of us would know.
Did it pique your curiosity?
Of course it did. Did you really not know anything about it?
I really do not. I just found it. I tried looking for the person it belonged to, but I could not find anything. I'm sorry. It didn't seem like she was ready to give up, though. Silence descended on the consultation room for a while. Is there anything else you would like to know? I asked.
Why did you send it to me?
She asked after a short pause. When I gave the diary a look, I realized it contained a lot of information about you. I figured it might help you with your memories.
Nah.
Takako let out a sigh. I want to know exactly what it helped you remember. Takako was about to say something, but closed her mouth as she heard that. She then focused her eyes on something in the air in front of her.
It was full of really old stories, so it helped me remember a lot. It's a really nostalgic read, I guess.
What about this Sachiko, who seems to be narrating everything?
My childhood friend and the most important person in my life. To tell you the truth, I think I'd forgotten how much she meant to me before I read that.
I see. She seemed to have completely lost her high spirits. I didn't know whether that was because she felt disappointed I didn't read her to Sachiko, or because she was feeling guilty for having forgotten her. Perhaps it was both. I'm sorry for asking prying questions.
It's all right. I really appreciate you sending that notebook to me.
I was relieved to learn that she understood its contents like she was supposed to. It didn't seem like I needed to hesitate any further.
So what did you want to ask for me? What do I need to do?
I want you to treat that notebook with care and reread it from time to time.
That's all?
Yes. That's not too hard, is it? Well then, I began tidying up the records scattered on the desk. Takako tried to help, but being unable to do much without knowing which files the papers and pictures belonged to, she soon gave up. Those weren't the tidiest records in the world to begin with, so it didn't take that long to throw them together by myself in any case. Takako gazed absent-mindedly at my hands while I stuffed a medical record previously resting on the edge of the desk into my bag. Just an old thing of mine, I accidentally left a few of them here, I explained as I zipped up the bag. After we left the consultation room, I locked the door behind us. I won't need this anymore, so will you return them for me? I took out the bundle of keys and handed them to Takako.
Should I give them to Mayuko?
Yes, please.
Is that your other favor?
Yep. Takako gave the bundle of keys a long, hard look.
You leaving already?
I've got some other business to take care of. I'll leave after looking around this place for a bit.
Want me to show you around?
That's nice of you, but I would like to do it alone and at my own pace, if possible.
If you say so.
Well then. I waved Takako goodbye and left her behind in the corridor. So what did she show Takako then? We just kind of skipped over the active part of that.
Did we?
She said she wanted to try something that she thought would help Takako.
Yeah, she said it was a thing that would require some dedication on Takako's part. Just
To read the diary from time to time?
Yeah, that was favor number 1. And the second favor was to return the keys. So why, that's what I've been wondering, why would rereading the diary from time to time matter? Why would she come all the way here to say, reread the diary from time to time and treat it with care?
To help her remember Sachiko? Maybe? But, I spent some time investigating the sanatorium after splitting from Takako. The nurse told me not to loiter around too much, so I decided not to go upstairs from the room I'd been shown to. At a closer look, the interior of this place slightly differed from the Fujisaka mansions. Both had a big camphor tree in the middle of the inner yard, though. I could see a roof in the distance through the branches. I left the building through the back door in the lobby and continued down the usual stone path to the library. However, the door was locked, and I'd already handed my keys to Takako. Well, wasn't as if either Kozue or Lily would be here at any rate. I found the nurse working at the flower beds as I returned to the inner yard. Probably would have been awkward so if she spotted me as I tried to inconspicuously pass by her. So I figured I might as well initiate a conversation myself.
Oh?
She turned to me. Oh hey, Mayuko's flower CG again.
Have you met with Takako?
Yes.
That's good. What are you doing here?
I expected that she would ask that. I saw a roof in the distance from the second floor and I got curious.
Ah, the library. It's closed right now.
I see.
It's open during weekends and on holidays. You're more than welcome to drop by later if you want to see it from the inside.
If I get the chance. The nurse Takako had called Mayuko made a gentle smile. Her breasts were larger than the originals, but among all the people I'd met here, she undoubtedly resembled Sachiko the most. Yeah.
Takako making herself a new Sachiko, but bustier.
With bigger breasts and blackjack. Though her social anxiety made Sachiko show little emotion on her face, she was actually a very gentle person at heart. Those who understood that would have a hard time telling those two apart.
Is something the matter?
Mayuko asked. She thought the flowers were very colorful for the season.
Those are called primroses. They're winter flowers.
I never heard of that name before. Is growing flowers a hobby of yours?
Not really. The people at the flower shop recommended these after I told them I was looking for something colorful and easy to grow. I mean, it's kind of sad to see empty flower beds in winter, wouldn't you agree?
You have a point there.
Takako helped me plant these.
Mayuko pointed at the flower beds that Takako likely helped her with. I see. What are your plans for the summer, though?
I'll plant other flowers. I was considering morning glories this time around.
Oh, that's a nostalgic name. Used to grow them back in school as well. Mayuko smiled.
Takako said something like that, too. They always remind a person of school.
Yeah.
Speaking of which...
Speaking of which, Takako told me a lot about you as well, I said, changing the subject.
Nothing too strange, though, I hope.
No, nothing bad. She was simply telling me about her friends here.
I'm glad to hear that.
The nurse made an exaggerated sigh and stood up while brushing some of the sweat off her forehead. After a bit of small talk, I realized the sky had begun growing orange in color. Oh, right, I promised I'd make a call around this time.
A call?
I'm sorry, but could you let me use the phone in the lobby?
You can use the one in the office. The phone we have in the lobby needs coins to operate.
That's alright, it won't take long anyway.
Then feel free to use whichever phone you like.
Thank you. I'll go make that call now.
Okay, take care.
I started toward the door heading back into the building. Before entering, I stole a final glance at Mayuko and saw her waving me goodbye. Oh my god. So what are we at then? Like all three of them are separate existences within Sachiko's mind? Sachiko's senses are even more turned inwards than we originally thought.
But wait, I thought that last time you had been pretty convincing about the idea that this is Takako's perspective.
Yeah, sorry, Takako's like that's what I thought when they were all the same perspective. But if they're setting it up so it is like an actual place within her mind that are both happening simultaneously, then I don't know. Does that still make sense? It could just be that this is Takako's mind, but with her senses turned even deeper inwards than we originally thought.
Maybe.
I checked the clock as I returned to the lobby. It was 6 o'clock. I picked up the receiver and fished out a few coins from my pocket. I placed them by the phone, leaving only one in my hand. I put it into the slit on the phone and rotated the dial. Pressing the receiver against my ear, I listened to the beeping sound, waiting for Sachiko to pick up. Too bad this doesn't have speed dial. Referencing my own jokes.
Wait, what?
Referencing my own jokes from my own works. That's how clever I am now.
Oh, it totally was, wasn't it? Wow, and on to chapter 9. Holy
Already?
shit.
Yeah.
One whole chapter
They
in
weren't
this
kidding.
little bit of time.
We're fucking accelerating here.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Whoa.
Oh, okay.
Okay. That's a mysterious image to kind of leave it on, huh?
Are we ending here?
I don't know.
Is this where the episode?
It depends if we want to.
Like, I guess we just finished a chapter. It should. We can cut it off here and we'll start the next one next time. But yeah, savor that image for a little bit. Why don't you?
Yeah.
We'll see you all next time, everyone.
Peace.
Bye.
Smash that like, comment and subscribe.